Hello DevOps friends! Welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my office hour. As I do on Fridays, I do my office hour live stream where I don't have to prepare anything. That's the most convenient live streams of them all. All I have to do is wait for you to post questions on qa.monospacementor.com and I'll try my best to give you a helpful answer. So if you have any questions about Linux system administration, about software engineering in general, or maybe Ruby coding, which is my expertise in specific, if you'd like to ask about your career, if you have any other IT topics that you'd like to share or discuss, post them to qa.monospacementor.com. I'll get them on screen? Not on stream, yeah, on stream too, actually, and answer them. So, yesterday in my live coding stream, I started trying out DevBox. And DevBox is a Nix-based environment manager for development environments. And so you get an isolated Nix shell with all the packages installed that your project needs. And I tried that with my Ruby on Rails application. And it didn't quite work out of the box, mostly because I had issues with compiling gems. Some of the Ruby gems my project need to have some compiled parts. And both with the Postgres driver and later on, after the stream, I tried to debug this further. I also ran into problems with the FFI gem. And I was able to resolve both by installing the appropriate packages from Nix. Apparently, the gem command tried to compile these gems with libraries from my host operating system because they weren't available in the Nix environment from Nix specifically. And after I installed Postgres in the DevBox environment, as well as the FFI package, compilation did work, and I was able to spin up my Rails application and run tests. So apparently you need to be careful with dependencies in terms of libraries and header files and stuff. And you should probably install them from the Nix package repository to not get a mix of host-based, i.e. in my case Fedora packages, and then the Nix-based setup. I don't think that can ever work. But since I wasn't familiar with DevBox in particular, or Nix in general, I did not find that out during my live stream, but only, well, as it always is, 10 minutes after. I continued trying to get this running, and it took me maybe 10 or 15 more minutes, and then I was able to work it out and get everything working. That means that from now on, you will see DevBox more on this stream, because I think it's a great way to get isolated development environments, and it's also a great way to set up a course environment, I think. So I'm also going to test drive this for my courses, where people need to install certain things or get certain services running to be able to experiment during the course or the workshop. And I have a feeling that DevBox will be really, really useful for this use case. We'll see. But that's not what we're here for. What we're here for is answering your questions. Post them to qa.monospacementor.com. When you go to the website, you will find an input form where you can directly enter your questions without having to log in or leave an email address or anything. Simply post your questions there, and I'll take a look at them and answer them. You'll also be able to upvote questions from other people, and so if there is a question that you are interested in as well, or where you simply think that's a great question, make sure to upvote them as well. So again, This is my office hour. I'll answer your questions. You just have to post them to qa.monospacementor.com. In the meantime, I'll refuel on coffee. Taburian, thank you. That's very kind feedback. Thanks. I feel a little bit silly that I still am a little bit insecure with these things, even though I've been streaming for 6 years. I just recently had my 6th Twitch affiliate anniversary, but it always feels good to get positive feedback, so thank you. So there is a question. Oh, that's the wrong screen, actually. I did not want to have that. Wait. The presenter view, that's what I wanted. So there is a question. Do you manage your .dot files? And if so, how? Yes, I do manage my .dot files. I think once you are in a few years into running stuff on your Linux machine, even on your macOS machine, actually, because that's basically exactly the same. Once you've amassed a lot of .dot files, you need to find a way to get them managed and synchronized between machines, maybe between a workstation and a laptop, or between work and home. So I do manage my .dot files. For quite a while, I used the RCM tool from Thoughtbot, I think. RCM is basically a tool that takes a repository of files which don't have to be .dot files, so they don't have to start with a dot. That makes things much easier because they are not hidden and they are easily visible in an editor and things like that. But it then creates symlinks in your home directory to these files, and these symlinks then, of course, have dot names. So you get your .ssh directory or your .tmux.conf file. So that is one way to do it. And recently, I think end of last year, I found an alternative tool called Chemois. And Chemois is another .dot file manager. It has a lot more features than RCM. Another tool that's very similar to RCM is GNU Stow, I think. Both create .dot file symlinks. Chemois does it a different way. It takes a repository, and you still have normal files in there, but their names need to start with dot underscore, DOT underscore. And when you run Chemois apply, it does not symlink these files, it does actually copy them into your home directory. So it does overwrite files if you tell it to. And that way, I think that's the most compatible way to manage these things, because you can actually make changes to the .dot files which don't get automatically reflected in your Chemois repository, because there is no link between them. But also, you don't confuse tools or applications that do not actually expect a symlink, but a normal file. And Chemois copying files, creating normal files is perfectly suited towards that. So yeah, I can show you how this looks like. So let's simply run my mux.files command, which spins up a tmux session. And in here, I have my Chemois repository. And as you can see, all the future .files are directories or files that start with .dot_. And those get copied with the appropriate names. But there's more. There's, for example, the Chemois ignore file, where you can tell Chemois to ignore specific files that will not get copied. And there's another thing that's called Chemois external, where you can actually tell Chemois when it runs its apply cycle to also, for example, clone Git repositories. So that's really handy, because for some of your tools, if you install them, or when you install them initially, they need maybe a plugin manager. So I install zplug for my Z shell. I'm going to replace that at the next opportunity, because zplug isn't maintained anymore. For NeoVim, I use the plugin manager. For Vim itself, I use the same, and for tmux I use tpm. And that way, when I have a new machine or new virtual machine, I can actually just clone my Chemois directory and run Chemois apply after installing Chemois. That's the only one that I need to install manually. And it'll then go on and clone all these plugin managers for my different tools. And from there, it's then just installing the specific plugins using, say, NeoVim. And that way I have a working NeoVim, even a working legacy Vim, a working tmux, and a working C shell with all the plugins that I usually use. So because of this and many more features, I switched from RCM to Chemois, and so far I'm very happy. And I've created even this setup script where I do install the necessary basic tools. And then it still uses RCup. That is not going to work anymore. So I need to update the script here. That's good to know. I need to update that to install Chemois and then run Chemois apply. All right. Hope that answers this question. And if you have any other questions, post them to qa.monospacementor.com. Tiburon says, sometimes my wife takes me out of a computer to lay down on a bed and watch something. After that, I go back to the computer and solve in 10 minutes something that I was debugging for a few hours. Yeah, that's a very common effect, and it's actually pretty well studied by science as well. It's simply your brain's background processing that keeps dealing with stuff, and so that's a perfect method, especially if you find yourself frustrated and you haven't been making progress for half an hour now. You're finding yourself in some kind of a dead end. It's a good idea to let it there and do something completely different. Go paint your garden shed or take a shower or something like that. And your brain will keep chipping at the problem, and eventually you'll have a light bulb moment, and or at least when you get back to the old problem, suddenly you have new approaches and new ideas. That's a great way. So don't burn yourself out trying to and forcing yourself to trying solving something. Instead, let your brain do what it does best, and if it takes a little bit longer, well, then simply do something else in between. That's a great method, and I'm happy to see that it does actually work for you. If you just joined recently, welcome to my office hour, in which I answer your questions about all kinds of stuff, hopefully stuff that I know something about. Mostly software engineering questions and system administration questions, SRE stuff, DevOps type stuff. If you have any questions, post them to qa.monospacementor.com. While you're coming up with new questions, I'll try and update my .files script. That was the impulse I needed to get this updated. And if you need the URL again, it's qa.monospacementor.com, where you can leave your questions for me to answer. Hmm. You know what? We can also quickly run an ad so people don't get pre-roll ads immediately after joining the channel. You can still post your stuff to qa.monospacementor.com. See you after the ad. And we're back from our ad break. We'll be ad-free for more than half an hour now. And again, if you want me to answer a question about Linux, Ruby, programming, career questions, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and I have quite a little bit of experience programming since 1984, system administration, Unix and Linux since 1993. So I've seen things. And if you'd like me to answer any question you might have, I'll be happy to post them to qa.monospacementor.com.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Balthazar! Hey! Happy Friday! How is it going? Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I think Restic is definitely a good alternative. I never had any significant issues with Restic as a backup system. The only reason why I switched to Borg was first curiosity, and second, it seemed to be pretty popular as well, and I wanted to know how it works. And then when I learned that Hetzner storage boxes do support Borg out of the box, that basically tipped me over, and that's why I switched from Restic to Borg when I switched from B2 to Hetzner. But whatever backup solution you use, the most important thing is that you use one in the first place and make sure that you can actually restore these backups successfully. And that's not directed at Balthazar, that's going to all of you. Oh, I see. Oh, does Restic have a GUI? I didn't even know. I always used Restic from the command line. Backrest. Let me take a look. Web UI and orchestrator for Restic. Okay. Oh, it's web-based. Web-based. Okay. Interesting. I wonder how it interacts with Restic then. And you can run it as in a container too. I'm reading the README, but I can't quite figure out how it works. So you... Because thing is, I run my backups as the root user. So, for example, containers and stuff get backed up too. Which I wouldn't be able to if I ran my backup with my own user. And I'm not sure I would have then to run backrest as root too. Interesting approach, nonetheless. Written in Go, just like Restic itself. Interesting, good to know. Good to know. Makes it easier for me to recommend Restic. Ooh, and there's a Restic operator for Kubernetes? These are quite a few features. That's speak for Restic. Interesting. Yeah, this is all bonus content that you're getting. And if you'd like me to answer any questions, then post them to qa.monospacementor.com. No email, no account necessary. You simply go there, fill out the form with your question, and I'll get it on screen. Wolfhound Jesse, good afternoon to you too. Thanks for joining us. This is the Monospace Mentor Office Hour. And if you have any questions, you can post them to qa.monospacementor.com. I'll show them on screen if I can, and I'll answer them if I can. There's a question, but before I get into that, Balthazar wrote, someone built a little toy that opens up a Restic backup and lets you play audio from them. As a way to is that meant as a way to verify that the backup is actually valid? So include an audio file in your backup, and then you have that little app play the audio just to verify that the backup can be read and at least partially restored? Storage medium for your... Yeah, that is maybe a little bit of a roundabout way to go about things. I think there are better ways to store audio files and play them than hide them in a restic backup. But still, I think it would be a good way to just lost my train of thought. To verify your backup, actually. Yeah. So there are two questions now. The first one is tabs or spaces? Very controversial question, of course. My answer is tabs, actually. I was a spaces aficionado up until quite recently, when I realized that tabs are actually a little bit more flexible, because they are basically an encoding for your indentation level, but people can actually influence how these indentation levels are displayed on their individual screens. And that makes it easier, for example, to then answer the question 2 spaces or 4 spaces, because yeah, you can then tell your editor or the program that views your text files to turn a tab into 2 spaces or maybe 4 spaces. And I actually am using 4 spaces at the moment. I think when things get indented that deeply that a 4-space indentation basically pushes stuff off your screen or out of your window, then maybe it's time to refactor your code a little bit and extract stuff from this nested hierarchy and make things more readable, not only in terms of indentation, but also in terms of separation of concerns and things like that. So yeah, it's 4 spaces as expansions for tabs. And on we go with the preferences. Do you have a preference for light or dark mode? I do have a preference for dark mode, actually. The less important reason is that I'm a great fan of the Dracula color scheme. What the heck is he doing? He's showing off his Dracula t-shirt. And since the light Dracula theme is still in the works, I'm forced to use dark mode if I want to use Dracula. The more important reason, though, is a health reason. A few years ago, I got a lot more of these floaters in my eye, the things that you can see if you look at a bright background or maybe up into the sky or something, and then you see those virtual things flow by. Well, they're not really virtual, they're just stuff that floats around inside your eyeball. And suddenly there were quite a few more of them, which was concerning because that could mean that my retina was peeling off. But it wasn't that. I went to an ophthalmologist and got that checked out and everything was okay. But on the other hand, now I have these floaters and as I said, they are more visible on a light background than on a dark one. And that's why I do prefer a dark background. Apparently there's not a good way to get rid of those other than maybe draining the eyeball and filling it with distilled water or something like that, but I'm not at the stage where I want to have eye surgery because of that. So yeah, that's the reason why I prefer dark mode. Bethesda claims that Nord is the best theme. Well, it is definitely a second best theme. That's correct. The unfortunate thing is, and thanks for reminding me. You can see back there that I even have Dracula as a keycap set. Oh, you can't see it because the browser window is in the way. Yeah, that thing here, that's the Dracula keycap set. And I did actually order a Nord keycap set too. It took them 3 years to get it manufactured, or at least almost 3 years. And what came out of it was absolutely not the Nord color scheme. So these keycaps will unfortunately be relegated to something very utilitarian. I wanted to give them to my colleague, who is actually a fan of the Nord theme himself. But yeah, unfortunately, this keycap set doesn't deserve the name Nord. And why I am grateful to Balthasar for reminding me, it actually never got delivered to me. I need to contact the vendor and ask them where my keycap set is, even though it's not going to be really the Nord colors, unfortunately. I still paid for that, and I at least want to have something out of it. Findel joining us, and if you notice the new camera angle, you haven't been around a lot lately because I've been rocking this angle for at least 2 weeks, I think. So, welcome back, mate. Hope you're doing great. And welcome to the Monospace Office Hour, where I answer your questions if you want to or not. So go to qa.monospacementor.com, post your questions there, and I'll answer them. Questions like, do you have a preference for light or dark mode, which is a question that I just answered. So please post your questions to qa.monospacementor.com. Don't begrudge you for that. Life always happens. Life always gets in the way. That's the problem with life. But I tried without it, and it didn't really work out either. And Balthasar, sad to hear that you have the same issue with the eye floaters yourself. Let's commiserate. There is a question that I don't think I'll be able to answer right away. Can you run Avalonia directly from the console without a window manager? Since I do not know what Avalonia is actually, I think I'll have to pass on that question, or at least do a little bit of research. So give me a second while I try and check that out. Avalonia. I know, hello, welcome to the stack. Yeah, okay, Avalonia UI, a cross-platform WPF. What is WPF again? A windowed platform framework? A web-based Windows Presentation Foundation. I have no idea. You can see I'm not that much of a front-end developer, let alone an application developer, for which this seems to be geared. So you can run stuff on Windows, macOS, Linux, iOS, Android, even smart TVs. Wowzers. Okay. Interesting. Now, okay, so your question is, if I develop, let me know if I get your question right. As far as I can tell, your question is, if I write an application using Avalonia and say I build it as a Linux application, will I then be able to run this application without a window manager? Is that your question? Okay. So, and by console, do you mean a text console that doesn't even run in graphical mode? Or do you mean simply open up a terminal window and run your application? So, thing is, as far text console without graphical mode. Oh, I have no idea. So that would be an Avalonia specific thing. No GUI. I do not think that I wouldn't expect Avalonia to also give you a TUI, a text-based user interface, because there's so much difference between any window, in any GUI basically, regardless if it's Windows, Mac OS or Linux, and regardless of the window manager, and a text-based user interface. I would be very surprised if Avalonia would be able to abstract things so far that it can actually show you a TUI. Yeah, I don't think it would be. It would do even spin up a GUI in the first place, because I think what it would do is tell you there is no graphical user interface that I can access. There's no X11. There's no Wayland. There's nothing that would be able to display my window. So I'm simply exiting with a fatal error. Actually, Balthazar, you wouldn't even need a window manager. You can run applications on a naked X11, for example. You wouldn't have much fun without a window manager, because it'll simply open a rectangle, I guess, in the upper left and show your application there without any window Chrome, without any buttons to close the window, without anything, because that's the actual responsibility of the window manager. So yeah, while you could probably run it, technically could run it without a window manager, there's absolutely no sense in doing that. Yeah, we're getting into semantics, so I'm not going to argue a lot here. Xarc is not a window manager. I don't know what the term for it would be. Is it a graphical? What would you? A windowing system. Yeah, a windowing system. It basically provides you with the very basic primitives that you need to display windows. So you can tell the X server, I'd like to display a rectangle here, and make that and give me control over that. And that's where the window manager will then kick in and say, okay, let's start drawing a frame and a title bar and buttons on the title bar and stuff like that. And then your application would fill the remaining space inside that actual window. That's basically the hierarchy. And I would assume the same applies to Wayland as well, but I haven't looked into the technical details of Wayland enough to actually say that with confidence. And yes, I think dealing with X11 messages and going to the bare metal down there can't have been fun, especially because X11 is so outdated in what it does and how it implements it. Yeah, I would expect it to be designed with both X11 and Wayland in mind, because while X11 will eventually be completely replaced by Wayland, it is not there yet. There are still applications that require X11. There are still situations in which Wayland doesn't really work 100% well. For example, if you're running an NVIDIA card, you can run into issues. I did try Wayland a few weeks ago, and it still didn't work quite well with my NVIDIA 3060. There were glitches and flickering and stuff. Apparently, a driver update is underway, or it might have actually been installed on my machine recently, that solves these glitches. So I should give Wayland another try next time I log in. I'll definitely switch to Wayland when it's possible to do so without any compromises. Until then, I'll still be rocking X11. Yeah, of course it still works on 70s hardware because it was developed in the 70s. And I guess Wayland developers or Wayland fans would then claim, yeah, they also stopped developing it in the 70s. Which is not true, but X11 development definitely is stagnating. And that's why there is this huge push towards Wayland. iNode asking, do you know a good software for Linux to access bare metal machines with IPMI? I don't. I haven't had to access servers that way in quite a while, since I don't have direct access to a data center anymore after being fired as an IT manager many years ago. So doesn't IPMI expose some kind of a generic interface, like a web interface on a private IP address or something like that? How does this even work? I never had to build IPMI access myself. That was back in the day. Our data center team built these things, and I just used them. Let me see. How to access IPMI. Via the LAN or the internet, the manager uses IPMI over IP to connect with the BMC on the server motherboard. And so you need an IPMI client, huh? Is that it? IPMI client software Linux? I see, okay. I mean, there are solutions, and I'm sure you already are far ahead of me in terms of Googling that stuff. There is, for example, IPMI tool for Linux, and that is still maintained-ish. But yeah, I have no experience with that that I could throw in here. said it's also weird how X11 flips the server and client words. It's weird, but it does make sense when you think it through. But yeah, it's pretty much the opposite what you'd expect. If you go at it from a protocol and service perspective, which part provides which service, making it the server, and which one then uses the service, making it a client, that it makes much more sense than if you think of it as, yeah, client is what runs on my workstation and server is what runs on the remote machine. So yeah, Tiberian says IPM user has a HTTP UI and a Java connector. Yeah, I'm pretty much used to that, because if I get a console from our data center provider, a remote console, that's still spinning up a Java applet in my browser, I think. Tindall shared, I got a scare 2 days ago, was poking around Windows with RDP, and RDP was the only way I could access the server. So I was poking at the RDP server in it via RDP, and it stopped responding. Da-da-da. Oopsie. Yeah, total and utter panic, I can imagine. That's the same feeling that as I got when I... back in the distant past, I made changes to my Secure Shell daemon configuration, and as you do, issued a restart command, and then I realized, oh shit, I'm connected using SSH, and as if by a miracle, the connection was still up, because yeah, SSH is a little bit more intelligent than myself, I guess. Yeah, not having access to the data center, and then you shut the machine down and it needs an actual push of the button to spin back up. That's never great. But that's why proper data centers have KVM consoles that allow you to at least virtually push that button. And Tiberian sharing, there is also the Pi KVM project where you can use Raspberry Pi as a sort of IPMI and KVM. Yep. There's another Raspberry Pi based KVM solution as well that I looked into just the other day. And of course, I can't remember the name. So they sell a KVM appliance, a little case that you can use to access servers. What is it? There's Pi KVM, and I'd have to look at my notes if you're interested. Let me know if you're interested, and I'll look it up. But as I found out yesterday, researching stuff in my notes is still sometimes not quite straightforward, so I don't want to bore you with that if you're not really interested. So let's catch up with chat. And speaking of chat, if you have any questions, ideally post them to qa.monospacementor.com, where I'll get them on screen and try to come up with an answer. And there are quite a few questions there, actually. So let me see. So there's the question: how do I access IPMI via datagram over avian carrier? That's actually pretty hard. because in my experience, those avian carriers mostly hit the security door pretty hard, and so they'll soon after stop pinging, actually. The question is, do you use any automations at home, and do you have any fun to you or silly automations? Yes, I do. I have far too many automations here at home. But thankfully, my family has gotten used to them. Not only to my nerdiness, but also everyone's using these automations now pretty much. So I have the usual stuff like the basis of my home automation is Home Assistant. Everything runs via Home Assistant. Most of the lighting that is automated, all of the lighting basically, with the exception of my key light here, is accessed via Zigbee. And so there are lots of automations that I'm using, and I'm happy to share them actually. So give me just a second to set this up. That's HA, I think. No, that's not it. ha.home.arpa, no. Homeassistant.home.arpa, no. What else? That's what you get by using bookmarks all the time. Oh, it's just a different port. Okay, I get it. Okay. So let me get the URL. And then I need to log in, Home Assistant. Here we go. Before I share that, let me catch up with chat if there's anything. Okay, you're still debugging the Java problem. Yeah, that Java stuff, that needs to go. We need proper HTTP services to access that stuff. This whole legacy Java stuff needs to go. Okay, so yeah, let me show you my Home Assistant setup here. So as you can see, this is a dashboard of our full house, and I can see that today is not the greatest day to go outside. Well, that's why I'm sitting in here. And there are the different devices that I have around the house. There are lots of lights and light strips, plugs, stuff like that, but also CO2 monitors, for example. As you can see in here, I can still wear my t-shirt because it's 22 degrees. There is a little bit much CO2 in the room. I should open the window a little bit more. And then there's the whole streaming setup with my key lights that I can switch off and on here, and the other lights as well. Once the CO2 level reaches 1400 ppm, the fan will automatically kick in. Hoping that I have actually the window open, otherwise the fan will just churn the bad air anyway. But yeah, that'll help with flooding the room with fresh air again. What I really like is the wake up automation that we use during school time. And that is that shortly before we need to get up, lights in the kids' room and the bedroom will turn on gently. And when it comes time to really get out of bed, then the lights will get brighter, and thus signaling us to move our asses. And I have gated this whole wake-up lighting scenario using a binary state, which I can turn off and on, and that's the school time button here. So once I click that off, the whole wake-up scenario will be disabled and we can sleep in. And there's another button here, away mode, which means once I turn this on, the lights in the house will turn on at random, but during time frames that actually make sense for the light to come on. So mostly in the evening, and with differing durations for at least, I guess, 10 minutes, but not more than 2 hours, things like that. So just to simulate a actually populated house with lights going on and off regularly, but in a way that isn't too overtly identifiable as just an automation. So yeah, this makes things very easy for me to simply, when we have a long weekend or we go on vacations, I simply click off school time and turn on away mode, and that takes care of things. Another extensive automation is behind the CO2 and the fan, because I don't want the fan to run until the CO2 goes below a certain level. That would be too simplistic, because, for example, if the air in here is bad and then I go and leave, the fan will kick in. But since the window isn't open and there is no fresh air coming in, the fan will run and run and run and just churn the CO2, and that's going to be a huge waste of electricity. So the fan will automatically turn off after a while. It will basically give up if the CO2 level doesn't drop significantly, and then the whole automation goes on cooldown, so it doesn't just try again 5 minutes later. So it's a little bit more logic, and I had to spend quite a bit of time building this, but it is much more effective.
I know this.
Claw76, welcome to the stack. Good to have you. Thank you for the follow. I do appreciate it. Yeah, so yeah, if you want to get into home automation, Home Assistant is definitely a great way to go about it. Okay, story about being an IT manager. Yeah, happy to share. So, about 20 years ago, I worked as a SUSE certified Linux trainer, and that is probably the explanation that today I'm also running a side business as the Monospace mentor, where I'm doing courses, and yesterday we did actually launch our new community platform, which you can sign up for and join at theserverroom.sh. So back then I was working as a SUSE certified Linux trainer, which meant that I was entitled to run official SUSE Linux courses, network administration, security administration, Linux system administration for beginners and advanced, all that kind of stuff, which I mostly did at SUSE-owned training centers around Germany. And I also did corporate trainings where I traveled right to a company's HQ and did the training for their IT team or something like that. I did enjoy that. I didn't mind traveling around. I got myself a nice car, and the hotel rooms got paid anyway, so that was quite nice. And what's more important is that I really enjoyed teaching people. I do enjoy teaching people. I love seeing the virtual light bulb turn on over their heads after I've explained something. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was even more fun when I met the IT manager of a big German internet service provider at a conference. I knew them from college, actually, and so we got talking, and I shared that I was working as a Linux trainer, and they said, oh, that is amazing. I need someone to basically take my whole IT team, which was about 60 to 80 people, I think, and basically teach them all the basics about everything, so that we can, for example, have a broader on-call shift. More people know more about the basic things about databases, about Linux, about how the Linux kernel works, things like that. So I need someone who has a broad knowledge about these things and can actually set up a curriculum that covers a lot of ground on these topics, and then, of course, also teach this curriculum, which I was more than happy to do. And so I got to work, and I spent quite a few weeks on building that curriculum and actually teaching it at their headquarters. And when that teaching gig came to an end after a few months, I guess, they did offer me a job as a team lead. They wanted to start a new IT team for the central services, which were very business critical. So far, multiple teams had taken care of these services more or less, but because they were so business critical, they actually decided, yeah, let's put a dedicated team on these services. And they asked me to join the company as a team leader, build up that team, and then, of course, run the team, which I also was happy to do because it didn't require me to travel anymore. And I was curious how I would do as an IT manager, actually managing not only servers, but also people. I did that, and it was great and enjoyable. Eventually, that provider got bought by another even bigger provider. So I joined that provider then, got promoted to department head, running multiple teams. And yeah, I did that, which also was mostly fun, until my boss got replaced by someone else, by the CTO. And well, it turns out we didn't get along. Let's leave it at that. So yeah, time went on, and I went on a vacation with my then girlfriend, now wife. She had health issues where it would have been beneficial to spend some time at the seafront, and so I took 2 weeks off, and we went to the to northern Germany, to the seafront, and spent 2 weeks there, which actually did her very good. When I returned, I realized, okay, there is a message from a colleague, another department head, asking me to call him. And then there was a Facebook message from him asking me to call him. And yeah, I think it was 2 or 3 or 4 messages that I got on different channels. So yeah, I thought, well, that's it seems to be urgent. It's 11 p.m., but I'll still call them. So I called them, and they told me, yeah, you might want to sit down. Last Friday, our boss presented your replacement. Okay. Interesting. I went in the next day with an appointment with my boss and HR already scheduled. And yeah, my boss basically told me that he didn't think that I was suited for the job anymore. Mostly because of risk management perspectives, which was strange because he did offer me a team lead job, as a risk manager, which didn't make any sense. And of course, a team lead being a demotion, I did not really accept that. And I got in touch with an attorney and went back the other day and said, okay, yeah, you don't seem to want me, so I'll leave. But I want garden leave and I want severance. And so I got both. I got paid for a few more months and got a severance payment. And I used both the time and the money to start my current company that I've now been running for about 14 years. So in hindsight, I'm really, really happy to my boss for kicking me out, because I wouldn't have been happy there anymore anyway. And by now I'm running my own business, and it worked out great. I mean, I wasn't sure if it would do so, but it turns out that it did. And now I'm even able to run Monospace Mentor on the side, again teaching people, getting back to my roots there. And so yeah, things turned out all right. But yeah, that was an interesting experience, to say the least. Is there still coffee? No, there isn't anymore. Okay, so a question that will be important for many people. How do you deal with temporary total lack of drive, motivation, and work ethic? Watch Netflix. Or rather Paramount Plus, probably, because I'm a little bit behind on Star Trek Discovery. No, in all seriousness, the first thing is that I don't force it. I learned that pushing myself and trying to push through will only speed up getting in a burnout state. So I'll, if things don't motivate me, or if I can't find the motivation to do things, which is probably the more precise description, I leave them be. I take a walk, I take the rest of the day off, I actually spend time either reading, watching TV, spending time with my family, whatever I am inclined to do, I do. And that often does the trick, and when I return the next day, I'm already through that dip and can get to work again. If this keeps repeating, I'll take it as a sign that something is wrong. Either it's wrong in terms of what I need to do. Maybe I'm trying to do something that isn't really in my wheelhouse, something that really wants to be delegated to someone who has more fun doing things. For example, back office and finance stuff is something that I despise. So I shouldn't try to force myself to do that, but instead I'll simply delegate that to our team assistant, and she'll be happy to take care of that. Actually happy. If it's something that is actually my job, I actually take some time to reflect on how come that something that is my job, that I picked as my duty, and that in the past I did with motivation and even fun, what has changed that it doesn't anymore? Why doesn't it spark joy anymore? And going deep on that oftentimes uncovers something that will then help me to regain that motivation, where I see, okay, maybe I've been doing the same thing for too long, and I need to break things up. I need to shake things up and do something else. That was in part why I started Monospace Mentor, actually, because just dealing with software basically didn't do it for me anymore. I wanted to work with people again. I wanted to teach people, and have people ask questions on a stream and answer them. Make connections, stuff like that. And that also rekindled my love for doing DevOpsy stuff. So yeah, first of all, take a break, don't force yourself, be gentle, and then ask yourself, why is it that something that used to make you happy doesn't really seem like fun anymore? And as they say, the answer might surprise you. I know that I'm happy to see that you're happy with how your career took a turn to. You did yourself a favor. Okay. Yeah, I guess I would have eventually resigned myself. That termination came out of the blue, at least for me. And that's why they had to give me that garden leave and that severance package. I'm sure that HR wasn't pleased by that action, but hey, I was happy to take it. All right, we've been going for more than an hour now. 1 hour and a half, actually. So, as they say here in Ireland, last call. Get your questions on qa.monospacementor.com and I'll answer them. And if there aren't any questions anymore that you can think of, how about we wrap things up and go into the weekend? And the question is, what will you be doing? I will actually take this refurbished ThinkPad that I bought on eBay for my son. And I'm going to replace the German keyboard with an ANSI keyboard, so it's better suited for coding. And I'll take out the 2.5-inch hard disk, which I bought by accident, so I didn't read the description of the laptop closely enough, and I just read 500 gigabytes, assuming that it would be an SSD, which it wasn't, as it turned out when I switched on the laptop and it started vibrating. So I got myself another 2.5-inch SSD, which only cost 20 or 30 bucks anyway, and so I'll take the ThinkPad open and replace the hard disk with an SSD, reinstall everything, and then hand it over to a very happy son, I guess. Other than that, Saturday will always be cleaning day. I need to de-dust the office because I'm highly allergic, not only to cat hair, but also to dust mites. So that's something that I need to do. And other than that, it'll be probably a very chill weekend. I'll have on-call duty, so I can't go completely offline or far away from a keyboard. So I guess it'll be catching up with Discovery and chilling with my family. You guys keep firing these interesting questions. Okay, so would you get an off-the-shelf NAS, Synology, QNAP, or roll your own? Yes! So here you can see a little Synology 2-bay NAS that's mostly running backups. It was my central NAS for quite some time. But then I got my home lab server, a used Dell 5820 machine with 4 hot swap hard disk bays. So I got 4 8-terabyte disks, put them in there, and now I had an even bigger NAS. And so I installed Proxmox on that home lab server, and inside Proxmox I installed a VM running TrueNAS Scale, to be precise, and I told Proxmox to pass through the SATA disks directly to the TrueNAS VM. And so now I have a TrueNAS-based central NAS on which I'm storing, for example, the recording of this stream. And my whole other stuff, my media library and everything lives on there as well. My workstation does actually back up to the home lab server, even though the Synology NAS is actually supposed to be the backup NAS. But I was just in the flow and set up a Borg container and set up a backup share and all these things, and suddenly I had backup running to the home lab server, even though the home lab server is actually not supposed to run backups in the first place. So it is what it is. Now I'm mostly running backups to the Synology NAS. My wife's iMac uses the Synology NAS as its time machine target as well, and I also have my homegrown NAS system for my own individual purposes as well. If your question is, should I build my NAS myself or take an off-the-shelf one? I'd probably recommend taking an off-the-shelf one if you are not willing to put in system administration work at times when it might be inconvenient. Because those off-the-shelf NAS systems, especially Synology ones, are pretty reliable, pretty capable as well. You can run Docker containers on them and stuff. So I did start out with my NAS as my home lab, or at least as my home server, running Plex and Pi-hole and these things. And only when I got the home lab server, because I wanted to have a more beefy machine for all kinds of DevOps stuff, I then migrated everything over to the bigger machine. But I would start with an off-the-shelf thing and work with it until you've grown out of it, and then maybe build your own. If you want to build a NAS yourself, I would assume you wouldn't ask that question. You'd already been you would already be on eBay looking for the matching hardware, I guess. There's another question before I get to that. Let me catch up with chat too. Balthasar says, quick update, installed Bluefin in Proxmox to give a quick pass, and I think I'm going to put it through its paces this weekend. Amazing. Bluefin is amazing. I run it in its DX incarnation on my workstation. DX means developer experience. That's a Bluefin variant that has stuff like Homebrew pre-installed, where you can get your whole developer tooling. I also have installed Bluefin without the DX on my son's laptop, because all these Fedora Silverblue machines are really easy to maintain. They only enable updates, or updates only become effective when you reboot. And Bluefin actually runs the updates in the background. So once my son's using the laptop, it installs updates. But those updates will only become active once he reboots the laptop or shuts it down and powers it on again. So everything basically will happen by itself. And if there is an actual issue, which rarely happens, we can simply select the previous menu item in the boot menu and start the previously working operating system variant and investigate what needs to happen to the updated version for it to work again. So Fedora Silverblue, especially the Universal Blue variants and especially the Bluefin variant, are great if you want to have a batteries included and mainly self-maintaining Linux distribution. which I value as a developer because I need to be productive. I don't want to fiddle with stuff, especially not at times when I need to be productive. So Bluefin is great. And I also don't want to keep updating my son's laptop all the time just to be on the safe side. If the laptop can do that itself, I'm more than happy to accept that. So Bluefin, yeah. Bluefin will always have my vote. And I'm happy to see that Balthazar is going to experience its awesomeness as well. Thindle providing some context for the NAS question. Had a QNAP before, it was pretty crap. Yeah, QNAP, it doesn't seem to be the greatest of things. Synology, at least in my experience, does deserve its leading position in the off-the-shelf NAS space. I would say they're worth the price because, yeah, they are pretty mature, reliable. The software is okay. You still have SSH access to the system, so you can actually make modifications or install stuff on the CLI and things like that. So yeah, I don't see why I would not recommend Synology as an off-the-shelf NAS. Then Thindle got an HPE microserver, which also turned out to be crap. I would assume you got a used machine as well? Well, yeah, sometimes it's a lottery what you get. I was pretty lucky with my Dell 5820, actually. I'm very happy with the machine. I not only put in these 8TB disks, which are in hot swap brackets, so I can easily replace them if they develop issues. I also put in 128 gigs of RAM, so I can actually run quite the workload on it. And the Xeon CPUs that are in there, or the Xeon CPU that's in there, even though it's from 2018, it does the job. It's, I think, 12 cores or something like that, and that's more than enough for my purposes. I mean, yeah, if you know what you're getting yourself into, get yourself one of these 5820s and build it as your home lab. It's a lot of fun. I was a little bit anxious if the RAM would actually work, because there's always the vendor qualified list of stuff that you can build in there. And of course, the stuff that I got from Amazon wasn't on that list. But I also didn't want to spend a four-figure sum on 128 gigabytes of RAM. So getting it from Dell originally was out of the question too. But everything worked out fine. So yeah. A middle ground would be to get one of these NAS chassis with a decent CPU. And install your own operating system on them. That's possible too. What are the brands that you can get where you can simply basically throw off the vendor operating system and install something like Proxmox on them? There are quite a few YouTubers who do that kind of stuff. I was amazed to see that it's actually possible. I didn't think it would be. I thought you would need some vendor-specific operating system to run on that. But in the end, those are just Intel-based CPUs with a homegrown Linux variant anyway. So I don't know why I was really surprised. And that's definitely possible as well. So you might have the reliability of mature hardware, get a platform that has this middle ground performance. So don't take the slowest Intel N100 CPU or something like that. Maybe get an i5 based CPUs or something like that. You'll have the original NAS chassis with the hot swap base and everything, and then you get to run Proxmox on that and do your own stuff. That's definitely an option that I would consider too. Balthazar answers that question with are you looking to run services on it? Synergy and QNAP are getting to the point where they are having pretty strict HCL, so the price for getting them is pricey, but they do have decent tools for running basic services on them. Yep. That's basically what I was trying to say as well. There's GoPro Slow. Yo, welcome to the stack, mate. Good to have you. I have 12 spinning Rust disks, some via SAS to a SATA card in a desktop chassis, runs Linux with JBot and uses MergerFS and SnapRAID for checksum-based redundancy. Interesting approach. I don't think I've seen this kind of setup before. A JBot and then MergerFS and SnapRAID. So basically, a variant on the software RAID approach, I guess. Interesting. I have to look into that. That is actually one of the advantages of getting one of these NAS chassis. They are much more low power than getting a workstation grade machine like the 5820 that I have running here. I'm pretty sure its power usage is a multiple of what a decent NAS chassis would use. Oof, I didn't even notice that we had an ad break because I didn't have the Twitch tab open. Sorry about that. Sorry for me talking through that. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Stilly, welcome to the stack. Hope you're doing great. Getting ready for the weekend. Exegete has joined us as well. Sorry for not noticing earlier. Welcome to the stack. Exegete says, congrats on launching the new thing. And if you're not familiar with what he's referring to, it's the server room, my new community platform for DevOps practitioners. It's a membership community that you can join from €5 a month, and where we're going to do great things. Not only will you meet a lot of friendly and expert people there, we'll also do a lot of community events in terms of feedback sessions and community workshops and stuff like that. So if you're interested, or if you're looking for a great bunch of people with whom you can not only have casual chats, but also go deep on technical topics or ask questions in a safe space, the server room is definitely a great option to do so. Einot says, I got one too with 120 gigabytes of RAM, 28 core Dell 5810. Can confirm it's insane. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. I wasn't sure how it would work out with this proprietary hardware and stuff, but turns out buying a high-end workstation from 2018, 2019 gives you a lot of value for the dollar or the euro. Now, let's get back to the next questions. You keep me going here, huh? So, I guess the next question was pfSense or OpenSense? OpenSense. pfSense, I think, isn't it deprecated or sunset or something like that anyway? Yeah, so I would definitely go with OpenSense. Actually, when I thought about, could I use my home server, of which I've been talking so much now, could I use my home server to provide infrastructure for my courses? So let's assume I have 5 to 10 people attending a course, and each of them needs a VM on which they can do experiments and stuff like that. Would I be able to run these VMs on my own hardware here, where I have full control, and might even have teaching access to see what they're doing and stuff like that. And one of the options I thought about that's still under consideration is creating a new network on a VLAN where only these course VMs live, and bridging that course VLAN to the main network and the public internet using a firewall based on OpenSense. And have OpenSense do the routing and the NATing and stuff like that. And also maybe make OpenSense an SSH bastion host where I can actually map the SSH port on my router to OpenSense, and OpenSense then will work as a bastion host, basically an SSH proxy to the student network. Something like that is definitely in the cards. For the time being, I'll take the simpler route and simply spin up cloud VMs in the public internet, where I don't have to deal with the complexity that I just described. But I guess it'll still be fun to set something like that up, where I can say, yeah, and by the way, all of you, you're working on this machine next to my desk here. And another home labbing question, I guess. Thoughts on securing your home network using VLANs and intricate firewall rules? So far, I haven't done it, to be honest. I didn't see the need. My Unified Dream Machine does the security stuff for now. But for example, I'm not using VLANs to separate traffic within the network or in my home lab yet. The only security measure I have in place is a guest Wi-Fi that is firewalled off to not be able to talk to other hosts on the network. So if someone uses the guest Wi-Fi, they'll be able to access the public internet, but none of my machines here. And that's done by the built-in firewall of the Dream Machine. I haven't explored VLANs yet, but as I said, I might be doing so for setting up some kind of a lab environment for my courses. pfSense is just falling out of popularity because they're getting more and more commercial, apparently. Okay, I can see that. Okay. Yeah, that's the vibe that I got from reading about these things on a cursory level. So yeah, if I have to set up a firewall myself, say on my home lab server, for example, I'll definitely go with OpenSense. All right, need some kind of hydration. Thankfully, I have my little orange, apple, and strawberry juice mix here. Tastes great. Just not sure how well it is against thirst, actually. I might have to grab myself a water bottle, but I'll do that after wrapping up the stream. Let's see. Tiberin says, I have a VM for each company I'm working with, easier to manage environments. That does make perfect sense. Yeah, that's a great idea. GoPro Slow, you're asking, anyone like First Robotics? The competitions are streaming. Super cool. Interesting. So are they streaming on Twitch? And Bethsa was in a first team in high school. Cool. I have no idea what First Robotics is, actually. It seems to be a US thing, though. First Inspires _ Hopper. That's quite the obscure name, but okay. I see what it is. You don't want me to quit, huh? Alright, so what is your favorite activity to relax? Interesting question. So, depends on if you're talking about short-term relaxation or long-term relaxation. For short-term relaxation, I do actually really like meditation, aka breathing exercises. Doing that for 15 or 30 minutes really helps with relaxation. And it helps me to focus and center myself again. So I really like that. If we're talking about relaxing during the evening before going to bed or something like that, I guess it's mostly watching TV or watching YouTube, actually. I have a Tube Archivist VM running on my home lab server, which is well curated by now. Tube Archivist is a software that does YouTube archival, so it downloads videos from YouTube and archives them for long-term storage. And so basically all the channels that I'm interested in on a long-term basis get downloaded automatically, and so there's always something for me to watch there, and it's actually something that I want to watch, as opposed to the YouTube algorithm where I will go down several rabbit holes until it's time to go to bed, and then I realize none of the videos I have been watching in the last 2 hours were really something of substance, and basically just a waste of time. And so that might be a bummer at the end of the day. Tube Archivist makes sure that the stuff that I'm spending my time with is actually stuff that I'm actively interested in. So if you have an interest in that, Tube Archivist is definitely one of the great options. It does use YT download, or what the script is named, to download the videos, but then it goes and feeds not only the video title and stuff, but also the video description and even the transcript of the video into Elasticsearch. So it's really an archival solution where you can actually search for keywords, and it'll find videos where this keyword was actually mentioned in the video, not only in the video description. And so it's a great solution for things like that. And YTDLP, yep. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that's definitely a good option for me. Okay, now that the Q&A panel is empty, I guess I'll wrap up this office hour, which has turned into 2 office hours. Not that I would complain. It's always great to have you people around, and it's fun to answer your questions. It's great to see the stuff that you share from yourself. So definitely worth my time, and I hope it was also worth your time. So yeah, I'll be back next week with my usual schedule, live coding streams on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Thank you, Basic Panther. That's very kind of you to say. And on Friday, that'll be the office hour, and we'll see what else there is going to happen. And other than that, I guess we should take a look if there's someone we can raid. Yesterday, I decided to raid Sherry Makes Art, at the same time as she decided to raid me, so we both raided ourselves into the abyss. But let's see if we can find someone who is still doing stuff online. There's always Mark over at Finite Singularity. We have TBD Gamer. Yeah, I think we'll go and raid TBD Gamer, working on their agile platform. Yep, that's definitely something worth a watch. So let me line that up for you. Let's see, TBD Gamer. Alrighty. Theo should be live soon. I'll probably pop in there as well. He doesn't seem to be online yet, otherwise I would have had a notification. I'll say hello later when he happens to be online, but for now I'll line up the raid for TBD Gamer. I hope to see you again next week, either on my live streams, or maybe you simply want to stop by our Discord server where we have a friendly community. And of course, everyone's invited to join the server room as well. And until we see each other again, take care and have a great weekend. Cheers.